Okay, we're going to do the cut and paste part of updating our journal. You're going to need textbook pages 358, 359, and 361. We're actually going to use 360, which is the back of 359, 361, and 358. So you're going to need that, some scissors, and some glue. If you will get your scissors ready, I'm going to tell you exactly how to cut it so that it fits in our journal nicely. So on page 358, I want to be sure that I include the word producers and some of the grass, maybe not all of the grass, because I want this beautiful food energy pyramid in my journal. And so I'm going to cut straight across the bottom and remove just a sliver. I'm going to turn it, and from the top I'm going to get rid of the white space along the edge. Okay, and then across the top, on this particular one I don't need the blue words or the title, so I'm probably going to start on this side. I want to be sure, my hands are shaking, I want to be sure that I don't cut the black print, but I don't have room in my journal for all of that, so I'm going to cut that off. Now here I'm going to go beside until I get to this bottom line, and then I'm going to go up the page. Okay, now this fits very nicely onto the outside of the energy pyramid page that we did, and so I want to glue this to the front. However, when I place it on here to see how it fits, this sticks off the edge, but because it's pyramid I don't want to cut the flap off, but I also don't want to put glue here because then it'll adhere to the page and I won't be able to open my notes. So when I flip this over, I'm going to put my thumb here so that I won't glue over it. I'm going to take a thin line of glue. Remember, it doesn't take a lot of glue. It's just paper. It's not really going to be stressed that much. Take a thin line of glue around the edge. And again, this is going on to the energy pyramid page. I'm going to take that and glue it to the front. Now I have all my information and a pretty picture, and I have a little tab where I can open it up. Now, I need to place it on my journal so that this is not sticking out of my journal because it'll just get ripped off. So it's going to be pretty close to the inside. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to go around the outside edge with my glue and place it on page 61. All right, so that's 61. Turn to page 62, and like I said, I don't really usually label my pages and about 10 at a time, or sometimes 2 at a time, because if I make a pocket then it messes everything up. So on page 62 I'm going to look at the information about the water cycle. Water cycle is a review. You've had water cycle since you were in elementary school. My kiddos used to call this the Asian cycle because there was condensation, precipitation, evaporation, transpiration, respiration. Okay, so there's lots of Asians. But I want this diagram, this lovely diagram, in my journal. You might want to go ahead and label first. So if the water is here and here it is vapor, this must be which Asian? Yeah, evaporation. And if this is kind of confusing which one's which, but there are birds over here, so I'm going to say this is the one coming from animals that respire or breathe with lungs and not leaves, and so this would be your respiration, and then the water that comes from leaves would be transpiration. So if you'll label those first. Now we're going to cut, this is page 360, I'm going to cut at the very bottom of the water. I don't want to get rid of my green arrows. So I cut that off. Then I'm going to go up the side. See the word groundwater? I want to get close to it, but I don't want to cut it off. And then I'm going to turn. I want precipitation and condensation, but I can cut the clouds a little bit. And then finally I'm going to cut the white off of the edge. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to place it before I glue it to see if it fits from side to side without sticking out, and it does. And then I'm going to take the paragraph at the top, and above the purple visualize it box, I'm going to cut across, cut up, cut the question off, and then just in case I need the extra, I'm going to get rid of the white space. Notice this time I kept the blue title because I had room on this particular one. So I'm going to make sure that it fits there, and then I'm going to take a thin line of glue and go around the outside. Those of you that like to put glue all in the middle, it's just wasted. See, I even did a little bit too much. If it's oozing, you're losing, okay? So you don't need to lose your extra glue. It costs money, and you work hard for your money, so you don't want to waste it. And around the outside edge of this one. And then I'm going to glue it at the bottom. Again, yours should be labeled. Mine's not, because I'm going to let my friend that this journal belongs to do that. And then I'm going to get rid of my extra paper. And I'm going to move on to page 63. 63, I'm going to be using page 361. I want to keep this, and the paragraph. So I'm going to cut across the bottom, up and around the question, don't need it, up the side, across the top, and get rid of the white space. I'm going to put this just for now right there, and then I'm going to cut out my paragraph by going down this side and around, up this side, and this one's going to be closed, so I'm going to cut the white off of the top. Again, thin line of glue around the outside edge. And I'm going to glue it at the very top because my picture is so big. And then I'm going to glue this. Now you know water cycle because you've had it for a long time, but you probably don't know nitrogen cycle because you really don't know a whole lot about the periodic table yet. But nitrogen is an element on the periodic table, therefore it is abiotic, non-living. But it comes to us in the form of gas, and humans and mammals and whatnot, we can't, even plants, we can't use nitrogen from the air. We actually need it to be transformed into an elemental stage that is in the ground. And so we have bacteria that actually break it down, those decomposers. That process is called nitrogen fixation. And so the bacteria are able to change nitrogen gas into a form that plants can use. Lightning can also fix nitrogen into usable compounds. Plants take in and use this nitrogen from the soil, and then when the consumers eat the plants, they can get nitrogen from those plants. When the organisms die, the decomposers, such as bacteria, fungi, some worms, break down the remains. Actually, worms don't break them down into elements, but bacteria and fungi do. Decomposers release a form of nitrogen into the soil that plants can use, and certain types of bacteria in the soil convert nitrogen into gas, which is then returned to the atmosphere. So bacteria, very important. Nitrogen fixation, very important for life on Earth. That's why a lot of times they'll tell you when you compost that you're making richer soil, you're actually enriching it with nitrogen. Okay, so this is on page 63.